Step up to a mirror. Look closely. You actually believe those wrinkles and the gray hair are just natural wear and tear, like rust on an old car. But the data says otherwise. What if your body isn't breaking down at all? What if it's flawlessly executing a hard-coded instruction to dismantle itself? We fed the decoded human genome into a predictive analytics cluster. We asked it to analyze our biology as a software program, and the output shatters everything. The machine found a timer, a strict hardware-level countdown that starts ticking the exact second you take your first breath. You aren't dying of old age. You are undergoing a scheduled decommissioning. But why will this code never be officially patched? The answer isn't medical. It's hard-coded into global economics and debt slavery. Welcome to quantum. Back in the early 2000s, scientists mapped our DNA, but the useful code that actually builds our bodies takes up only 2% of the data. Science arrogantly called the other 98% junk DNA, evolutionary trash. But the algorithm didn't see chaos. It saw an operating system. That 98% is a containment protocol. It actively blocks your access to recovery files and intentionally jams your repair signals. It's a digital governor on a sports car engine that cuts the fuel the second you hit 80 miles an hour. Your body could run for centuries, but the system intentionally shuts down the cylinders. And there is a hardwired kill switch. Biologists call them telomeres. The algorithm calls them a burning fuse. Every single time your cell divides, that fuse gets shorter. After about 50 divisions, the fuse burns out. The cell gets a stop command and turns into a zombie, poisoning the tissue around it. Science tells us this is inevitable. That is a lie. Sleeping inside your genome right now is a file for an enzyme called telomerase. It knows exactly how to rebuild that fuse. It's active in your reproductive cells, which is why your children are born with their timers completely reset. The tool for eternal life is inside you, but the moment you are born, the system puts a padlock on it. Look at your hand. If you get a deep cut, you get a scar forever. Crude biological concrete. Yet creatures like the axolotl can regrow a perfect, flawless limb. The system checked our source code. We have that exact same instruction set. The genes for perfect regeneration are written into your cells, but they are manually deactivated. Your immune system blocks perfect healing and fills the breach with cheap fibrosis. Scars are just another mileage counter. You are turning to stone from the inside out. The verdict is absolute. We don't break down by accident. We are disposable containers. But if our mortality is a hard-coded patch, why is it so critical to the system that you never live past 100 years? To find out, the AI uploaded the history of the global banking system, and what it found changes the rules of the game forever. But the system doesn't just rely on a burning fuse and biological concrete. If you somehow find a way around those barriers, the architecture has a backup plan. To guarantee you expire right on schedule, a sleeper agent was hard-coded into your system. Step up to the mirror one more time. Look into your own eyes. You are absolutely certain that the body you are standing in belongs to you. But the mathematical analysis of the human genome found a blood-chilling anomaly. 8% of your DNA isn't even human. 8% is the raw, unedited code of ancient viruses. The exact same viruses that infected our ancestors millions of years ago. Traditional biology tries to calm us down. They call these massive blocks of code an evolutionary graveyard. They tell us it's just dead scraps of defeated diseases that our bodies drag around like historical trash. But when the supercomputer ran this data through predictive analytics, it didn't see a graveyard. It saw a minefield. This code isn't dead. It is just waiting. As long as you are young and strong, these viral fragments behave perfectly. They are deeply integrated into your operating system. They even help you grow, protecting you while you are in the womb. It feels like we tamed an ancient enemy. But it is a trap, a flawlessly designed Trojan horse. The second you pass your physical prime, the moment you fulfill your basic biological task of passing your genes to the next generation, the artificial intelligence tracks a massive, coordinated software shift. The sleeper agent gets the wake-up call. The algorithms proved that at around age 35, this ancient virus actively starts manufacturing its own alien proteins. And it does this directly inside your brain, your joints, and your skin. Your immune system, which spent your entire life trained to destroy any threat, goes into a blind panic. It sees the enemy. But now, that enemy is built into your own tissue. So your immune system furiously attacks you. Official medicine calls this age-related autoimmune disease, arthritis, systemic inflammation, the slow breakdown of neurons. The supercomputer calls it something else. It isn't a disease. It is a hard-coded self-destruct sequence. You aren't getting sick. You are literally burning yourself alive from the inside out, commanded by alien software. But why would nature integrate such a brutal mechanism into us? The machine's answer is pure, cold logic. The virus is an evolutionary accelerator. If humans lived for 500 or 1,000 years, our ability to adapt would drop to zero. The species would simply stagnate. This virus was intentionally left in our code to guarantee a fast turnover rate. It actively and ruthlessly slaughters the older models to free up the planet's resources for fresh, new mutations. You are not the crown jewel of creation. You are just a temporary, disposable data carrier. You traded your right to a long life so the system could constantly update itself. But let's imagine the impossible. Let's say the science of the future finds a way to silence this virus. Let's say we create a software patch for our DNA. The machine is uncompromising. It won't save you, because you are absolutely guaranteed to be killed by your own power supply. Every complex machine needs energy. Your 33 trillion cells run on microscopic engines called mitochondria. In school, they sold you a cute story. These are our friendly powerhouses, a beautiful symbiosis with nature. But after analyzing their architecture, the artificial intelligence classified them entirely differently. They are dirty nuclear reactors with a critical, intentional design flaw. To let you move, think, love, and just keep your body temperature at 98.6 degrees, these reactors burn fuel every single second. Inside them, a literal controlled fire is raging. And just like any reactor, it produces toxic exhaust. In any normal system, this poisonous exhaust would be vented outside to a safe place. But your engines are designed to dump this toxic shrapnel directly back into themselves. Day after day, this poison shreds the membranes and destroys the code of your very own batteries. And this is where the algorithm finds the ultimate, sinister paradox. Deep inside the center of your cell, brilliant, hyper-powerful DNA repair crews are working around the clock. They constantly scan the code and fix the bugs. But inside the energy reactors, that defense system is practically non-existent. Ask yourself a question. Why would nature, which managed to build the flawless, insanely complex neural network of your brain, leave your main power generators completely defenseless against their own toxic exhaust? Because it isn't an evolutionary mistake. It is just another layer of planned obsolescence. Your architect specifically designed the engine to slowly poison itself. By age 40, your batteries have stacked up so many unfixed bugs and leaks that your total energy output drops for good. You feel it physically every single day. You get tired faster. You need more time to recover. Your brain starts drawing less power, and you lose that sharp edge you used to have, blaming it on getting older. But it isn't accumulated fatigue. It is a systemic voltage drop in your power grid. You begin to dim out, just like a light bulb plugged into a dying current. And the scariest part happens at the very end. When these dirty reactors finally break down entirely, they take one last, lethal shot. The damaged battery cracks open and releases a specific chemical trigger right into the cell. The second that single drop touches the inside of the cell, it launches an irreversible suicide process. The exact same mechanism that gave you energy your whole life is the one that personally pulls the trigger at the very end. So, let's wrap up the first level of this analysis. You are a biological vessel running on self-destructing batteries. You carry a dormant assassin virus in your blood, and all of it is tied to the burning fuse of your chromosomes. But why was such a flawless, brutal control system created in the first place? To understand that, the supercomputer had to analyze the one thing you trade your time for: your economy. We ordered the predictive cluster to do something traditional scientists never do. We told it to take your biological aging charts and overlap them with the architecture of global finance. It took exactly 3 seconds to find the match. The entire global economy, every single financial model on this planet, is built on one unspoken, concrete foundation: the absolute mathematical certainty that by age 80, you will be gone. Look at the 30-year mortgage. It is the absolute backbone of the global banking industry. You take out this loan at the peak of your strength. You trade the most productive decades of your life, exchanging your raw biological energy for a concrete box. By the time you make that final payment, the fuse on your chromosomes is burning out. Your dirty internal reactors drop their energy output. You retire. You get sick. And the system slowly, methodically, takes all your accumulated wealth right back. Through inflation, rising taxes, and endless medical bills. And then, your expiration date hits. Your house is sold, or handed down to your kids, who then march right into the bank and take out a brand new 30-year mortgage. The cycle repeats with flawless precision. You are a battery. You feed the matrix with your time. And when a battery runs dry, it gets thrown out and replaced. But what happens if we remove that biological kill switch? What if we gave humans eternal youth? The AI ran a simulation. It took a standard middle-class citizen and artificially extended their lifespan to 250 years. The result wasn't a utopia. The result was the total, irreversible collapse of modern capitalism. If you live 2 or 3 centuries, you weaponize the most brutal math in the world: compound interest. You easily wipe out your baseline debts in the first 50 years. That leaves you with 2 entire centuries of pure capital accumulation. You become financially bulletproof. You don't need loans anymore. You aren't terrified of losing your job. You stop being a slave to immediate survival. The system can no longer control you through the fear of poverty and starvation. You become a completely independent element. The global credit matrix survives on one thing only: a constant turnover of desperate, short-lived workers who always need money right now. If the masses become immortal, they crash the system just by existing. The machine's conclusion freezes your blood. Death is not an economic tragedy. It is the ultimate reset button. It regularly wipes the board clean and zeroes out the accounts, so the house always stays in profit. And it's not just about your money, it's about your data. At the very end, the system shifted its focus from the banks to your mind. Your neurons are the only cells in your body that stay with you from birth to death. They never divide. They cannot update or replace themselves. Medicine tries to convince us this is to protect our personality and memories. But the artificial intelligence, stripped of any human sentiment, calls it a forced hard drive formatting protocol. Imagine if a human mind was allowed to observe the world for 300 years. You would build a massive database, You would see right through the illusion. You would easily spot manufactured economic crashes. You would recognize the exact same scripts being used to start wars. You would become completely immune to propaganda. An old mind knows too much. You can't program it with empty promises in a 4-year election cycle. So, the system formats the drive. It lets you gather just enough knowledge to be a productive cog in the machine and raise the next batch of taxpayers. And then, at the exact moment you gather real-life experience and finally figure out how this game is actually played, your cognitive functions are systematically shut down. The sleeper virus hits the neurons, the batteries die, the memory wipes. The genius and wisdom of the older generation is ruthlessly erased, forcing the new humans to start from absolute zero. Every new generation is born blind, programmed to make the exact same mistakes. The analysis is complete. It is time for the verdict. You do not own your body. You are leasing a biological machine with a strict expiration date. And that date is mathematically, flawlessly synced to the financial matrix that controls you. Nobody is hiding the elixir of youth in a secret lab. We don't have a cure for aging for one simple reason. A cure for aging fundamentally breaks the source code of the reality we live in. Immortality destroys the architecture of control. The system simply consumes your time. It converts your heartbeat into digits on global bank accounts. And when your timer hits 0, you are quietly written off as scrap, freeing up space for a new user. Data upload complete. If you had the nerve to listen to this until the end, and you are ready to decompile the rest of this simulation, subscribe to Quantum. And remember, your timer is still ticking.